Hey everyone, it's Michael Zipursky and welcome back to another episode of the Consulting Success Podcast. Today I am excited and been looking forward to speaking with you, David. We have David Henzel joining us, and David, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so David, you are a serial entrepreneur. You built, you sold, you still run multiple businesses. You're originally from Germany. You spent time living in the US. You now reside in Turkey with your family. And where I thought we would start our conversation today is really around how you've been able to take so many ideas, and many of us have ideas, but you've actually been able to take these ideas and turn them into productized offerings or into systems or into businesses. So I'd love to kind of hear how you go about doing that, and I thought that maybe we could take one of your companies, one of your businesses, as a bit of an example, and we can change the example if you want. But the one that I was initially kind of thinking about here was LTV Plus, because that provides customer service support for e-commerce companies, and a consultant might look at that, right? So our audience and those that are joining in right now, many are consultants, either solo or they're firm owners. Or they're thinking about getting into the world of consulting. But a typical consultant might kind of look at that and think, okay, yeah, e-commerce companies need better service and support. I can provide them, with a plan on how to do that. I can create some strategic recommendations for them to do that, and then kind of, go about providing that service. But you decide to actually build a solution for that problem, and I'm wondering why. Why do you do that as opposed to creating a service-based company or just providing strategy or recommendations? Just walk us through kind of maybe that as an example, how you thought about that opportunity and then why you built a business around it.
Sure. So with LTV Plus, the original reason why I built it, because in my last business, Max CDN, we outsourced our support because we couldn't find people in Los Angeles that are willing to work nights. And everybody we found, they were just like overpriced and horrible. And so we looked outside of the US and we found somebody in Serbia who was absolutely amazing. And then we just like built a team around him. And I want to give the same experience that I had there to other entrepreneurs. This was like the original idea. And the reason why I personally would not have a consulting business, because I do not want to create a job for myself. I do not want to do, I have a not to do list, and one of the items in to do list is like, do not be in the org chart. I like to be kind of behind the scenes and kind of building something that runs by itself.
Yeah.
Because often, like as a consultant, or like as people say, like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, I have my own business. But often you just create a job for yourself. I think to really get to the point that you have true freedom is when you manage yourself out of the business and put systems and people in place that they can run this for you, so you can work on the business, not in the business. So I guess that's the key thing why I like to build something like this, like a service offering. And we have actually lots of consultants in that. Also, that's another thing. I love recurring revenue. And with LTV Plus, mainly with Task Drive, we do lead research and provide SDR, sales development reps. We have a lot of sales consultants that come in, do their work with clients, and then they recommend us at Task Drive, and they leave at some point, and they still get Task Drive as recurring revenue, so they get a kickback from Task Drive, for recommending this. So
where did this come from, though? Like the idea that, as you said, you want to be kind of behind the scenes, right? You don't want to be the brand. You identify ideas. Many of those, right, are ones where it creates kind of recurring revenue. But when did that kind of clarity come in your mind, or that decision come in your mind that, yeah, I don't want to be the one doing the work. I want to develop the idea, build a team around it, and kind of, be behind the scenes. Where'd that come from?
I guess doing this for a very long time and kind of figuring out like, where do I fit in best and what gives me the most joy and what's, I guess, my zone of genius. I like to systematize things. And also another thing is I'm a recovering introvert. I was used to be very, very introverted and just kind of being in the limelight and being the front-facing person, was always like, for me, a little cringe. And another reason why another reason why I like being behind the scenes is because I have this portfolio of companies and I cannot be the expert of everything. Right. And when I start a new company, for example, UpCoach, it's a platform for coaches to run their coaching business better. And also businesses can run their business inside of UpCoach. Actually, lots of agencies also use it as their portals where clients can log in. But the point that I want to make is I'm not an expert coach. I've been coaching my team members for
Right.
20 plus years, but I'm not a coach, and I'm also not known as a coach. So I partnered up with Todd Herman. He wrote the book, The Alter Ego Effect, and he's like a rockstar coach, sold multiple coaching businesses. And when we enter the market with this product, we have instant credibility because we have this poster partner. And so we have immediate trust inside of the marketplace, so I guess this.
I want to know, I think it's a great point. And I do want to ask you more about how you kind of go about the partnerships, or as you said, right, you don't want to be the one in the limelight. And the reality is you can't do all these things anyways, yourself when you have multiple businesses. One thing I'd love to hear your perspective on is you have an idea. How do you go about validating that idea? How do you, what does your process look like before you decide to make a big investment of not only potentially money, but also maybe more importantly, time into something? What is your process, both the thought process or the actual kind of steps that you go through to make sure that, you feel very confident this is going to work before you allocate your time and money to it?
So it doesn't work all the time, but I like to start from the point of scratching my own itch. If I look out inside of I have a problem inside of my companies and I want to solve it, and I look out in the market and see what's available. And if I cannot find the thing that I really want, then I enjoy building it. And for example, UpCoach was for managing happiness, my program to help people to run their life the same way you run a business, kind of like an EOS, entrepreneurial operating system for your personal life. I couldn't find something that was facilitating this, and so we built it, and it kind of naturally progressed. But the process for this is, of course, get an MVP ready, and then you want to understand the jungle. Let me explain how this works. So it comes from a story where a US general that was fighting the Viet Cong after 10 plus years after the war was over, he went with the president to Vietnam, and they reunited and they talked. And the American general told the Vietnamese general, like, hey man, how could you beat us? We had like way better weapons, way more resources, way more people. Like, I can't wrap my head around why were you able to beat us? And the Vietnamese general just said, because we understand the jungle better. So again, I can't be an expert in everything. So you want to understand the market, and you want to understand what's in the market, what pain points there are. And so I like the process of, I have this document which is called Understanding the Jungle, and it's basically it's a set of questions that I ask people. What's their objective, how they run their business, which tools do they use to do certain functions inside of their business, so kind of to get an understanding of the lay of the land.
Right.
Then I show them my MVP, or it can just be a PowerPoint presentation or whatever, just kind of like to bring the idea across of what I'm building here. And once I've gotten this, then I ask them like, okay, what really resonates with this? What's missing, and what is maybe not really relevant?
And sorry to interrupt you, but who are you actually asking these questions to, like as part of this validation process?
This ideally thought leaders in the space or potential customers.
Yeah.
And I fill this in this Excel sheet, and at the end, it's like, I have like 50 or 100 people in there. And the beautiful thing is I have like at the top, it's like name of the person, link to a LinkedIn, kind of like little information about this person. And then below it, I have like the 3 key takeaways that I got from this conversation. And this really helps me to shape my my decision making. You can ask like anything, like price point, how much would you pay?
Right.
As well, like at the end, I always ask like anybody else I should talk to that could this could be of relevance. And by doing this, it's fairly easy actually to reach out to people saying like, hey, you're the rock star in this area. I'm building XYZ. Are you willing to, I want to ask you some questions. And usually people like to give their opinions.
Well, and just so people have a kind of a sense, let's say you reach, like, how many people do you typically reach out to? And then what percentage of them would actually say yes to having that conversation with you?
It depends. Like all depends like how known you are in a certain space,
Right.
like if you, for example, WP Engine, that's a WordPress hosting company.
Right.
This is actually where I have this concept from. The founder reached out to 90 some WordPress lead, like thought leaders in the space, and asked them that, like, hey, would love to jump on a call. He said, like, I'm happy to pay for your time. Just want to pick your brain on this. And I think 80 some people had a call with him, and none of them charged him.
Right.
So it's like, it's very high percentage. I did this in the coaching space, and this didn't work because coaches sell their time, so everybody wanted to get paid for this. So this did not work. Right. I expected. But it works really well. And the beautiful thing is, like, aside from understanding how the jungle really works, right? You build these potential customers, referral partners, then you're kind of like in the market. And,
you're building relationships with people.
Yes, you're building relationships with them, and then you can kind of like keep them updated, like, hey, this is the process, this is what we're doing, blah, 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 blah. And then, maybe like you make one of them your advisor or whatever. But this like has been like a proven thing.
So just to summarize for everyone, kind of what I'm hearing is, you, in your case, you identify a problem that, is relevant for you, or something that you're kind of thinking about. You then research the market to see, does something exist to solve this problem? If it doesn't exist at a level that you feel is kind of satisfactory to solve the problem that you have, then you or you have somebody on your team do some research to find who are the different kind of thought leaders or people that I could get some perspective on. You go through the, understanding the jungle process by having all these conversations. That's comes into a bunch of summarized documents, or kind of, your notes. And then from there, you all move forward and decide whether it makes sense to build out this product or this offering. Is that correct?
Correct. Like, to give a little more detail.
Please, yeah.
With TaskDrive, we do lead research, so I always use TaskDrive for this. And they basically build me my dream 100 list of people that are in this space. Then we do some pre-targeting to show them ads, like you upload the email list to AdRoll or whatever,
right.
And you show them some videos or some ads about me and about this idea, so it doesn't come completely out of the blue. Then do some connecting requests on LinkedIn and other social networks. It's kind of like a whole process of kind of like getting known, so it's like it doesn't come too cold of an outreach once you then respond.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, I love that. Okay, and so you then move forward building out the concept. What are you looking at in terms of metrics to decide, is this something that you want to kind of plow more resources into, or really, build? Like, is there a certain amount in sales or number of clients that you want to see before you decide, is this something that we're going to scale up and really kind of put more fuel on the fire, or is it something that just doesn't really seem like it's clicking as you kind of, look at that?
I think it's like clicking, is it flow? Is it a grind or does it flow? That's like the easiest way of saying it. If things are meant to happen, they happen. If they don't happen, they, we just did one Uber QA, like quality assurance idea. And, we built the whole software out and like blah, 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 and did like all that jazz. And people were excited about the idea while interviewing them. They signed up, but then they didn't use it. And we just like couldn't figure it out, and we just killed it. So it's like sometimes it also doesn't work.
What was the time period between when you launched it and when you killed it? Like, how much time did you kind of give it to see whether it would work?
I think it was like 6 to 8 months or something like this.
Okay. And in a situation like that, how do you, in your mind, decide, or how do you think through the idea of, well, maybe we just need to work harder at it, or try a different approach, or, tweak things? Like, and I'm really wondering from the perspective of, some people say, you need to know when to quit, or you need to know when you're spending too much time on something that isn't working as well, so you can allocate your time to something that would work better, and, as you said, kind of in flow or more natural. But sometimes people are concerned that maybe they're missing something, or they could push a few more buttons. Yeah.
So I think it really depends, like, what's your personal mission and vision? You know, if the thing that you're doing is really in line with, like, for example, UpCoach is like hardcore in line with my mission and vision, because it's a transformation platform. It helps people to transform other people's lives.
Right.
I'm super crazy about this. So even if the process takes way longer, more money, more resources, whatever, I don't care. But with doing QA for people, like, meh, that's, it doesn't make money. Does it work? Is it running by itself? Cool. If not, doesn't matter. And also, like, the technology that we built there, we're going to use in other projects, you know, so it's not really complete waste. But yeah, I guess that's.
Does that come from your experience? Like, I mean, is that how you would have viewed things even in the early days when you maybe tested an initial idea, or is that just the result of building multiple things, seeing that some things won't work, others will? Like, how did you kind of arrive at that belief or kind of operating system for making those decisions?
It's like over the years, gut feeling.
Yeah.
That type of thing. Can't really give a good systemization answer to that.
Okay. And what's one of the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they have an idea, kind of between having the idea and actually successfully getting off the ground? What are some of the big ones that are out there?
One thing, like, from experience, sharing from experience, Shortlist.io is one of my companies who do backlink building. This was like the core offering, backlink building. And then my business partner wanted to do like a bunch of other things, and you know, like website design and web development, and, you know, kind of like a bunch of other stuff, like blog post writing, and
kind of like an agency for all
and then
all things.
yes, like marketing agency, like ads and like all that jazz, right?
Sure.
And the big problem with this is then you have bench. You have people sitting on the bench, and you're, you know, if you do like one thing really well, it's like kind of rinse and repeat, hammer, 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 hammer. And once you dilute your positioning, it's a problem. Like, people come to your website, they don't know what to do. Before was like, okay, backlink building, bada boom, I want this. And then you have this big team, like, you know, oh, we just lost a client, that we hired this guy to do the Google ads, and now we lost this big client, and now this guy's just like chilling there eating a few $1,000s, you know, just like door. So this was like a big problem, not kind of sticking to like the core thing and knowing like when to branch out into other areas. I think this is like the big learning. And
I mean, I think what you're speaking to there that is so important in the world of consulting is specialization and focus, right? So rather than going
so much easier.
Yeah. It's for many it's counterintuitive, right? They feel like they're giving up opportunities by narrowing in.
Positioning is one of the toughest thing for an entrepreneur to do, because it feels like you're leaving all this opportunity on the table. But what you're not seeing is like there's like so much noise, and you want to stand out and be. If I'm looking for, if I'd have a heart problem, I'd like a doctor that's specializing in 46-year-old white dudes who are like in good shape.
From Germany, living in Turkey.
From Germany, yeah. That's like the ideal person, not like, oh yeah, you know, I'm a doctor. Like, no, screw you, I don't want you. Yeah. You know, so I think that's and also like in so much noise in the marketplace, it's way easier to just like stand out. And also like kind of like defining what's your real ICP, your ideal customer profile, what's your avatar, who you're building this for, to kind of really build the best possible product for this one avatar. Because there's like, you know, there's so many solutions out there. And, you know, you want to be like, I guess focus is like the big thing.
Well, yeah. And more than, as you said, right, more than ever before, people have choices. There's options. And now not only, you know, do you have multiple people in probably your own area that are doing something similar, you have people all around the world that are, you know, accessible to those that you want to serve. So it becomes even more important to specialize. So you have all these different companies, you know, brands, businesses that you've developed or you've been a part of, and are part of kind of that portfolio. One of the biggest challenges that people have is around marketing, right? It's how to go to market effectively, how to generate leads, how to fill the pipeline. In the world of consulting, right? It's about creating conversations. I'm wondering for you specifically, David, when you think about launching a new business, but even so with your existing businesses, is there a marketing playbook? Is there something that you find you just do consistently as a way to get initial traction and to build up? And what does that look like?
Yes, there definitely is, but different things work for different businesses.
Okay.
We have like SOPs for, a bunch of things, for SEO work and kind of like all that stuff. But for example, Task Drive, where we do lead research, SEO works really well, because people do not need to know you that well because there's no risk involved. Okay, you go to this company, you go to this website, you ask them to build you a lead list. Okay, and then what's the worst thing that happens? The lead list is garbage, and you just like throw it away and maybe
Right. You're not going to work with a specific person to get a lead list. You want the lead list. You don't want the knowledge of a specific person.
Yeah, that's not even the point. The point is that, for example, with LTV Plus, if you engage with LTV Plus, we will talk to your customers. We'll do the customer support for your customers, right? It's like way more trust is needed in this environment.
Yeah.
Right. So for LTV Plus, partnerships is like the name of the game for us. It works like a charm. And for LTV Plus, it's partnerships, and for Task Drive, it's SEO. So it's like.
And how do you know that? Like, how have you found or decided or come to the realization of which is the right channel for which business? So with LTV Plus, it's partnerships.
Oh, in these businesses, it was trial and error.
It was. Okay, so you tried a bunch of things, you found something that worked, and then when you find something that works, do you tend to
go hard
on that one thing?
Yeah, I think that's a friend of mine was growing a very large business in the US. He's still doing it, and he was in a Shopify marketplace and having an application there. It was really crushing it, like
right,
billion dollar valuation thing.
Right.
So, and I asked him like, hey man, why do you stay in the Shopify ecosystem? Like, why don't you branch out? And blah blah blah. And he said, I was like, why don't you internationalize and blah blah. And he's like, dude, I'm still growing over 100% year over year. I'll just like stick to this thing. And it's again like positioning. It makes it so much easier. It's just like go hard in this one realm and versus like, yeah.
When you hear people who say things like, I'm doing, I'm trying to work on content and I'm doing social media, I'm trying to do some ads, and like they're doing a lot of different things, yet their business is still, sub $1 million or a couple $1 million or whatever it might be. How do you view that? How do you think about that? Do you think they're just too scattered, or what's your take on that?
For sure, especially when you're small. Like I can do like SEO and this and that because I just like hire a bunch of people who like their sole job is to focus on this. But if I'd be like just be me, I'd just probably do outbound stuff or see kind of what can I systematize and have like somebody like a VA or like a sales development rep can do on a regular basis. But yeah, I'll just like stick to one thing that works.
Like, do you think
also kind of what's my natural
right?
What works for me personally, you know, because like you read like, oh, this like Google Ads, whatever, like that's a thing, and you hear all the success stories. But I think it's like what's uniquely fitting to you personally, right? And 100%. Then kind of like lean into this.
I think that's so important. Like for me, naturally, I'm not the natural social media guy, right? I just tend to kind of live more in the moment. I'll often think to myself like, oh, I should have recorded a video there afterwards, or I should have taken this picture and done something. But I'm just like in the moment. It's just not me I know that sure, we could be doing more business and there's a lot of benefits probably of doing that and being much more active on social, but it's not my natural, just how I operate. And so I just try and focus on the things that I tend to do better or that are just more natural to me, because I know that number one, I'll probably do better at them, but number two, I'll do them for a longer term, right? Being more consistent. Do you think, just in your kind of experience, in your view, that
consistency is everything, by the way, in general? Consistency is everything.
Well, tell me, okay, so I'll come to my question in a moment. What do you mean by that? Tell me more about the consistency. What is that? Like, where do you see people going wrong, or
I mean, let's say, okay, I'll do like YouTube videos, and I do like 15 videos, 20 videos, doesn't really work. Like, oh no, let's just like do Twitter, like I'll write on Twitter. You know, it's like if I look at the videos that I recorded like 10 years ago or like 5 years ago, they're like horrible. They're so horrible. But it just got better and better over time. You know, so you do one thing and you get rewarded for two reasons. A, because like the algorithms, you know, Google, if you post like a blog post every other day, Google treats you differently. You know, if you like post like 6 times a day on LinkedIn, they will treat you differently, you know. And aside from this, you just get better at your craft. Yeah, I think that's the thing. And you have to do things a lot to be good enough to stand out.
What do you say to people who maybe their marketing is not yet kicking in the way they would like it to? So they're working on trying to build, you know, their pipeline, and they hear that idea of, you know, I need to be consistent, but seeing the results from certain efforts, like let's say, you know, recording videos and putting them on YouTube, or being active on LinkedIn, or writing content for SEO, right, to, you know, to be ranked high in Google. That can take time to just sometimes to see
This
the
will
results
take time.
of that.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's not an overnight get rich quick thing, as so many people would like you to believe. So what do you say to those people who, you know, are attempting this, but they're not getting the results? Like what's your encouragement, or what's your suggestion if somebody's kind of working through this, but they're not getting the results they want as quickly as?
Just like go to somebody who's been there and done that, get a proper SOP, get a mentor, get a coach, join mastermind, peer learning, like learn from others. You don't have to like reinvent the wheel. And ideally talk to people who are doing this, because like so much content on the web is written by writers that have like no real like hand-to-hand combat experience on these things. So and actually, you know, especially in marketing, people don't really share on the web the stuff that really works. Like the stuff that currently really works is like, you know, like shared in like
In a group or
masterminds, because marketers ruin everything. And, you know, so you want to like make sure you can capitalize on this current thing before it doesn't work anymore.
I think this is so relevant now, especially to the world of AI. And I'm wondering what's your take on, you know, AI and the impact on content, you know, especially for consultants and those who are selling their expertise. There's a lot of kind of lure or allure of using AI to just push a couple of buttons and get an article and put that on, you know, online. What's your take? What are your thoughts when it comes to AI and kind of the business of expertise?
That's a 2 podcasts in itself.
I want the best answer right now, David. It has to be comprehensive too.
Comprehensive. So I think AI will not replace you. Somebody using AI will replace you. So
what do you mean by that?
Everybody who's doing, you know, actually, I'm actually thinking about like building a tool, we have it already spec'd, that I can see who's using inside of my company, who's using which prompts and how often. Because if you're not using AI while doing the work for me, you're fucking wasting my time. Sorry for pressing, but like it's such an amazing tool. It's like almost like, you know, it's the power drill for a knowledge worker. Like, I don't want you to use your screwdriver in your hand. I want you to use the latest stuff that's out there.
What would be an example of that? So when you talk about like your team, how would you want them to be using AI? Give me maybe a couple of specific examples of what that might look like.
I mean, writing an article, kind of like doing your research, like, you know, write an article, like, or whatever, get the outline done by AI. There's like a really cool tool that a friend of mine has built called AI PRM. It's a Chrome plugin that basically lives inside of your ChatGPT. And you have like all these prompts, pre-written prompts, you know, that you can use. And it's really phenomenal if you know how to use these things properly. A lot of people just like write something in like one sentence into GPT and then expect like a good result. And it's already not bad, but once you really learn how to drill into it and kind of like set up that it's like a question answer thing, that it asks like 10 questions before it like kind of spits something out. It's pretty phenomenal, actually.
So you said that AI won't replace you, but people using AI. Well, just explain that a little bit in a little bit more detail.
I mean, like, let's say you are a farmer and right now you've been farming with a rake in your hand, you know, and then like all of a sudden somebody invents like a giant tractor that kind of like does this fully automated. he'll freaking replace you. There's still the guy sitting in there driving it, or like there's a guy owning this.
So it's the person using the tools, using the AI that will replace you, but not just the AI by itself. The robots aren't taking over yet, but it's somebody who's...
I mean, in certain businesses, I think that this also like can be problematic, you know, but like it's going to take a while. Like, for example, the self-driving car, you know, it's kind of like almost all the way there, but the last 2% are so hard to crack. That's going to take a while until it's going to be there, you know. So like, yeah, I would like support you massively in all the things that you're doing, and would probably like kill a lot of jobs, but there's still going to be somewhere they're kind of operating this.
Yeah. So much of your you know, your business kind of life, right, or your portfolio, that, you know, what you have set up, and the companies that you manage are driven by partners. As you said, like, you're not the captain, right, you know, behind the wheel steering the ship, or you've worked or you've put people into those positions. So partnerships is so key for you. I'm wondering, what have you kind of found are the key attributes or characteristics that you want the partners to have? Like, how do you view finding partners? Like, you know, what are the things to look out for? What are the things that are really important for you to see there in order to feel confident to move forward with a partner?
The most important thing is how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Tell me more.
So, for example, if you're sloppy in this area of your life, you're going to be sloppy over there. If you're a dick to the waiter, you're also going to be unpleasant with our employees. I had like one business partner who decided that it's a good idea to have a relationship with his wife's best friend. And they had like this crazy divorce battle, and ended up embezzling money from the company, and it was just like crazy.
A mess, yeah.
Crazy mess. And then we found in this, we got them out. We bought them out of the company. And then we were looking for a CTO for this same company later on. And the guy was like perfect, like really absolutely perfect. And from knowledge, from everything, like also cool dude. We got along with him really well. And we had like everything drafted already. And then we said like, okay, let's meet at my business partner's house. Let's hang out on the weekend. Let's hash the details out. You know, let's have some fun, and then we'll start rolling. And he comes to my business partner's house and with a woman, and he's like, who's this? Like, oh, that's my mistress. I'm like, hey, dude, like, it's over. Can't do this. And
did you tell him that in that moment, like as soon as he showed up, or did you save that for a little bit later on, or how do you deliver that news? Because now I think people want to. It's like, this is a good story.
I mean, I talked to my business partner. We talked. He came in, we were like kind of like in shock, and then we talked about it. It's like, yeah, it doesn't fly. We can't do it.
Right. So you look for little red flags like that, or little, you know.
Yeah, like, you know,
not so little, but yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's and this going to be like from like being politically correct or whatever. It's like people can see this like very wrong, but I think in Germany it's also like if you're late on a regular basis, I don't do business with you, right? If you are extremely obese, and there can be like health reasons for this, but most time if somebody's obese, it means that something in their life is not in order, right? If somebody has like BO issues, like, you know, if he can't keep himself clean, or if somebody cheats on his wife like crazy, takes too many drugs, like drinks too much, if something's like off balance here, it's going to be off balance there, you know. So I think that's like that's for me, that's the best way to measure if I want to be with somebody or not.
Right. And what about on terms of experience, like when you're looking for partners or to put people into the companies that you run, how important is it that they have experience in that specific industry compared to just that they have, like, so what are you looking for? Tell me more about like the skills.
I mean, it really depends on, you know, for example, like if this person is the poster child in this, you know, for example, with Todd, you know, like he brings trust and he brings the knowledge and he brings, I guess like mainly the trust in the marketplace.
Right.
Then of course, you know, but if he's like the CEO type operator, an implementer, it's they have to like, you know, have a business experience, ideally like having this role done before, and just like ambitious, smart head on the shoulders. You know, that's like all that matters. That doesn't have to. Of course, it helps if they have been there and done that. You know, this is always like the best scenario. It's not necessarily.
So you put somebody's, in the driving seat. You are kind of observing them. You're there to support them. Businesses though have a lot of different data points, right? I mean, there's a lot of different metrics or kind of, interactions. I'm wondering, what do you look at? So you're not the one driving the bus, right? Or driving the boat, if you use kind of that captain metaphor. But you want to make sure that you're on the right course, going to the right destination. What are you actually looking for, David, on a day-to-day, week-to-week, whatever it might be, quarterly basis? Like what are the metrics that you're paying attention to and focusing on to make sure that things are moving forward? Because again, there's a lot of metrics out there, right? A lot of data. What are the points that you care the most about?
Yeah, I think it also really depends on the business. For example, like there's like a few activity metrics and result metrics, I guess, or like leading and lagging indicators.
Right.
Of course, like, revenue, new revenue, churn, kind of like all these things will, I guess, like that's probably it. Pipeline, MRR, churn, and then activity metrics that kind of lead up to these things. Is it how many outbound emails are we sending, or like whatever is like is the right metric to measure.
Right.
Yeah.
How granular do you get when you're reviewing? Like, are you looking for a very
everything should be granularly listed for the occasion that there's a problem and you have to drill in. But I'd just like to see like a high level overview of like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 things.
And how often are you reviewing that data?
So I just switched up my MO. So we switched to monthly sprints in the businesses. So it's like kind of a mix of EOS, the entrepreneur operating system, with these level 10 meetings, mixed with the 12-week year type of thing. So the idea is that they build like a 90-day or 12-week plan. And then they have like these month-long sprints, and I join once a month. I join each company, the leadership team, to see what's going on, and then they present like how they did the last month and what they plan on doing the next month.
Yeah,
the cadence there.
That makes sense. You have a lot of experience in building teams and building companies with teams, right? It's not just you or not just one person typically. I just had a conversation before our call right now with a bunch of consultants, and one of the things that a few people brought up was kind of the fear, hesitation around hiring, building the team, where especially in times where maybe revenue isn't coming in as quickly as they would like, or things are a little bit slower than they would like. They are spending time doing things that aren't really helping to build a business, right? So it might be just doing things at their house, or just they're trying to do more invoicing or bookkeeping or research or whatever it might be. So they know it's not high level value producing work, but they're hesitant to hire somebody or bring somebody on to take that over because they see that as money coming out of their pocket right now. How do you counsel somebody in that position? What's your mindset around hiring, even when the resources may not be as abundant as people would like?
I just read a book of a friend of mine called "Buy Back Your Time" by Dan Martell.
Yeah.
And he has this exercise in there where you kind of like label, you write down in 15-minute increments your day, what you're doing, right? The task. And then behind this task, you write like from $1 sign to $4 sign, like how valuable is this task? And you write, and then you mark it with the marker. Is it like green? Does it give this task, is giving you energy, or does it drain you? And after you've done this thing for a week or two, you really know like the things that you could like definitely like whatever the $10 an hour things you should just like definitely outsource and have somebody else do it. So you can focus on things that are actually bringing more value to the business.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of always the way I'm looking at it. And I always do my best to manage myself out of the day-to-day as fast as possible. Kind of like starting with the tasks that I do not like, and that drain me, because I operate my zone of genius.
And do you have you're a systems guy, right? I know you love systems. When you identify something that, you want to get off of your plate and delegate to somebody else or bring on another team member, do you have, and I imagine that you do, but I mean, it's like a specific process for doing it. Is it as simple as, let's say, recording a bunch of Loom videos, turn that into an SOP, hiring somebody, passing it over to them, or is there something else, maybe a little bit more nuanced, that you do that you find is really helpful in getting something that you're currently doing off of your plate and over to somebody else?
Definitely SOP, and also defining, like making this person understand like why we're doing this, what does success look like, and what does failure look like.
Mm.
And so
Do you define
aside
that
from
for
the
them,
SOP,
or do you
yeah,
ask
I
them
define it.
questions of like, what would failure look like for you here? Or so what does that look
No,
like?
usually I define
tell
this
them.
for them. Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, and also another things like the good, better, best. Like if you good, this is like what I would expect. This is better, this is best. So kind of like give them some stretch goals into the doing so. But main thing is like, don't tell people like how to do this. Kind of like really tell them like why you want them to do this, and kind of like the reasoning behind it, so they can put in their own. Actually, another thing with delegation, I want people to fully own things, so they don't come to daddy to like, hey, please fix this. So they use their full capacities. Like it's really on them. I want them to understand like this is your thing now. You got to own this, right? And the big aha moment for me was when I sold my last business, and the CEO, initially I wanted to leave, but then I saw they just bought 3 businesses and they didn't have like good marketing leadership. So I stayed, became the CMO, and kind of like put together the brand. And in this process of putting together the brand, I pulled the CEO to meetings to kind of show him the progress. And first meeting, he sits through it, looks at it, and says like the end, like doesn't say a word at the end. It's like, it's good, and then leaves. I'm like, okay. And then next meeting, same, and the third meeting, the same. I'm like, I pulled him to the side and said like, dude, like, am I screwing up, or like, don't you care, or like, what's going on? Like, what are you doing here? And he said like, no, as CEO, I have to do only 3 things. I have to preach the mission and the vision of the company like a parrot to the outside world and to the inside world, like to the market and to the team, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make sure money's coming in, like at a fundraising, or like making sure the money machine is working. And I have to hire smart people that are smarter than me in certain areas and leave them alone, and give them like, just like manage them by KPIs or whatever. But I kind of give them the like, hey, this is your thing. And then this is like proper delegation. Otherwise, before I always kind of like parachute in, kind of like stirred everything up, and then kind of left. And it was like, it just like often did way more damage than good.
I think what you're sharing, I mean, it's so important, right? Like I love how you're just kind of communicating or defining this in terms of you're setting very clear expectations. You're letting them know kind of here's what failure looks like, here's what success looks like. You're letting them know that they now own it, right? They need to do their best work, and you define what that looks like. And then that kind of good, better, best type of scenario. So you're almost showing them, like challenging them by saying, here's what the ideal would look like. You're not telling them that's what they have to do, but you're painting it there for them.
No, in this regard, I talk this through with them, because I don't want to like put something on that they think is unrealistic.
Right.
So
yeah.
like,
No, I love that.
Also, and another thing is like when they come to me with a issue, like, hey, something doesn't work, or there's something bad, or whatever, that something's not good. I always want them to come to me with like ideally 2 solutions, like, hey, this is a problem, and I think we could do this, or we could do that, and I think we should do this because of XYZ. Because then they really use their full capacity, versus like, oh, it doesn't work, like, you fix it. Like, no.
So here's a question that I'd like to get your thoughts on. I mean, especially when you're working with a smaller team, in some cases, what that person needs to do. Like, what the best course of action is. But if you just tell them what to do, right? Tell an employee, tell a team member what to do, they're not learning, right? And in some cases, they don't feel like they have the freedom to to own that. But if you ask questions, they may or may not see that, or maybe they propose something that you don't feel, or maybe even in some cases won't work. How do you think about that? How, in terms of asking those questions of people, giving them the opportunity to maybe make mistakes versus you just saying, here's what I really believe you should do?
I absolutely believe that people are allowed to make mistakes because they want to grow into this, and it has to click for them so they can actually crush it.
Yeah.
My management mentor told me, I used to suck at delegation and management, and then my management mentor told me this thing: you have to wear 4 different hats when you manage somebody. The first hat you wear is the leader. You basically set expectations. This is what I want, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second hat is the inspector, because you have to inspect what you expect, because people only respect what you inspect. I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Inspect what you expect, because people only respect what you inspect. Right? So first hat is the leader. Second hat is the inspector.
Yeah.
The third one is the coach. Based on your findings on what you saw, what you inspected their work, you give them coaching and counseling, like help them to get better. And you basically run through these 3 over and over. And then from time to time, you bring in the judge and deliver rewards or consequences. And this made like all the difference to me. And like the thing where I always screwed up was the inspector. I said like, hey, this is what I want. And then I let them do their work. And like 2 weeks later, I look into this and like, what the heck did you do?
Right.
But now like after 10% of the work is done, like I always have them come back to me. Or ideally have like ways that I can like inspect their work while they're working. So I don't have to like, for example, let's say you have somebody paint your fence.
Yeah.
You don't come and look over his shoulder. You just like walk out to go to the mailbox and walk back and kind of check while you do that. So ideally they have like access to their work, like to a Google spreadsheet or whatever. You can check.
What does that look like? I mean, I love this, the way you've broken that down. I think a lot of people will find that to be helpful, myself included. Give me a little bit more detail around, so that you lead the leader in a role or that hat and initially of setting the expectations. How much detail would you give in your experience to somebody in terms of what do you expect? And are they involved in that conversation at all, or are you just kind of setting the expectation initially?
No,
what does that look like?
I like that people have buy-in, so it's not just coming from on top, like, hey, do this. Like, no, I want like there should be conversation on like kind of like So I definitely involve them into what this should look. I have a clear idea and I kind of like guide them to this.
Yeah.
But the ideal scenario for me is like, if you come to me and I have, I don't know, somehow influenced you, that you tell me exactly the thing that I had in mind and you think it's your idea, and like, we will feel it's your idea, just like roll with it,
Got it. So would you ever say it to somebody, or have you found that you can say, here's what I expect, like based on what we're talking about, here's what I expect? Do you say that, or is it more you're trying to get them to tell you what you expect, but they've kind of arrived at it through that conversation?
Through the conversation. So it's not that blunt, but if they're like completely like off target, then it's like, no, actually I expect you to do blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
And then in terms of frequency, so once that expectation has been set or agreed to, how often are you finding that you are inspecting? Is that you think you
really depends on the task. Like I like when whatever, some lead research, like some task, like I like to see like once 10% is done, come back to me and ask, so I can like give you feedback, so you're not doing the wrong thing over and over.
Got it. Okay. That's helpful. No, I love that framework there. We'll definitely bring that into.
It's all about them systems.
Yes, exactly. David, I know there's so much more that we could talk about. I have a bunch more questions. I want to respect your time though, because I know we're getting here to the top of the hour, or at least to the hour or so mark. So maybe just before we finish off, I mean, I know you talked about Dan Martell's book, which is a great one. Is there another book, could be fiction or nonfiction, but something that you've read or listened to in the last 6 months that you would recommend to people?
I haven't read them in the last 6 months, but I think the ones that I can really see consult, especially when you want to take like your business to the next level and not actually become an entrepreneur, that you work on the business, not in the business.
Sure.
From 6 to 7 figures, I really enjoyed that. Then Build to Sell,
right, John
was also a good one. EOS, like it's
Traction,
the entrepreneur operating system. By the way, there's like another one called Traction, which is written by the DuckDuckGo founder. You have to be like specific. It's Traction by Gino Wickman.
Yeah.
Because actually with Dave, who runs Shortlist, I told him like, hey man, all the businesses are running on Traction, please read Traction. He said, cool. Next time we met, I asked him, did you read it? It's like, yes. And then you start talking about like, dude, what have you been smoking? What are you talking about? There's like another one.
Different book, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think these are the books that I'd recommend.
All great recommendations. All right. And then finally, where's the best place for people to go to learn more about what you're up to, David? Because I know there's a whole bunch of portfolio companies, and I'd prefer to get maybe one link as opposed to all the different ones. So what would you suggest people who to kind of?
I mean, you can go to Henzel.com, which is my davidhenzel.com, which is my website. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Please tell me that you heard me on Michael's podcast, and then I'll accept the request of like the Randoworks request. I do not accept. And as for your audience, I think UpCoach may also be relevant for you to check out.
Yeah, we'll link all that up in the show notes. And then again, for everybody, the reason I was excited to have you on is because you've been involved in building so many different businesses, taking ideas and really, productizing them and implementing systems, building teams around them. And so often this is something that consultants, as they continue to grow or scale, they need to get better at. So yeah, David, everyone is a wealth of knowledge in this area, and highly recommend checking out what he has going on across all the different companies and connecting with you on LinkedIn. David, thank you so much for coming on here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.